Yay! Hey, everyone. We are here. We are joining you today for our Luxury and Legacy Spotlight. We have an awesome panel that's going to come in and out of the room today as we talk, of course, about building a legacy. That's what we do here at Luxury and Legacy, is talk about building a legacy. And we're going to talk about the buyer's journey. So we're going to talk about buying real estate. So on our panel today, we will have, of course, Auntie Nessa. She is a all the time panelist. She is an investor. She's bought a lot of real estate over her lifetime. So she's going to talk to us from that standpoint. We have Marcus Fields. Marcus is a local lender in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. He's licensed in many places, but that's what I care about. 10 places. Yeah, and we have Portia. Portia Wood is here. She is an estate attorney, and also the founder of Black Trust Fund Kids, because everyone should be a trust fund kid, right? Yeah, we have Miss Bonita Grant of Cure My Credit 700. Of course, we talk about the buyer journey. We talk about real estate. All of that credit matters. Hashtag. Right? So Bonita's going to talk to us about credit. So we're going to dive in. We have some other special. Oh, Veronica has entered the building. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Miss Jal, darling. How are you?
And Veronica comes to us from the island of Puerto Rico. She is a licensed realtor there. So we're going to get started. So let's dive in a little bit and let's do our welcomes. Welcomes and introductions. I kind of gave a short snippet of everyone, but we'll go around the room and everyone can tell us who you are, what you specialize in, and what is building a legacy mean to you. So let's just go around in order. Let's talk, Auntie Nessa. What does building a legacy mean to you? And a quick introduction, my
friend. Legacy, what it means to me is, that's the question you asked, right? Legacy, what does it mean to you? Longevity. Honestly, it means beyond today. It means 5 years, 10 years. It means after I'm gone. What it is, how can I improve the world of the folks that I leave once I'm in heaven? And so legacy means longevity to me. And, I love this topic about real estate, and I'm here to offer whatever input I have and any motivation that I can encourage someone who's in the audience who's a little apprehensive. I hope I can leave a word that will encourage them to move forward.
Awesome. And, in summary, too, what Auntie Nessa always talks about is that she believes she's been investing in real estate for a long, long, long time. She started really, really early in life. And one of her models is that it's possible for everyone. So that's part of the point she's trying to get across. Everything that she's pouring into you is to show you that you don't have to be extremely wealthy in order to invest in real estate and make money, if that's what you choose to do. Yes. Awesome. Marcus, tell the people who you are, my friend, the mortgage coach.
Good afternoon. Marcus Fields. I am a mortgage lender specializing in residential mortgages. Been in the business 18 years. Work for large credit unions, regional banks. My best fit is with an independent mortgage company. So I build my brand through Security National Mortgage, licensed in 10 states, and very, very passionate about the people, really, going the extra mile, giving them an experience that they just cannot get anywhere else. You're never going to get the same experience at a bank or anywhere else versus when you come with me. I deal with everybody like their family. But I just try to do good things for the people in the community and help people of all color, races, backgrounds just really come up. Buying a home is one of the most important things that you can ever do. Establishing a place of security. We talk about legacy, a place where, like she said, it outlives you. It's something that you work hard for. And the thing about building a legacy is that in the moment, you don't always know what you're building because you just kind of, you get a vision, you get a feel, you get a flow, your tank is full of gas and you just run, you go. And what my dad always told me, and this is part of his legacy, he's like, you never know who's watching you. So I'm glad that people are watching me and getting a chance to know who I am, what I'm doing, and it's not for me. It is absolutely not for me. It's for everybody else. I mean, God will take care of me in the process because I think that's the principle of do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Amen.
You do for others, and then He'll send everybody else to come take care of you.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yes, and one of the biggest takeaways for me from what Marcus said is legacy building is a selfless endeavor, right? It's not about becoming independently wealthy. Delana Barbie is an attorney that we love, intellectual property attorney. One of the things that she said on one of our other panels, where we had Portia and a couple of other estate planning attorneys, she said, to her, building a legacy and generational wealth is literally about giving the next generation one leg up.
Yes.
Period. You know, and I think if we keep that in mind, then we don't feel like we failed or we haven't met the mark when we're not independently wealthy. Building a legacy, it's not about that.
Right.
Awesome. Portia, tell the people who you are, my friend, and what this legacy building means to you.
Yes. Hi. Hello,
She's
everyone.
the queen of generational wealth.
Oh, thank you. My name is Portia Wood. I am a generational wealth planning attorney. When you're talking about legacy, right, much like Delana said, it's your family eating the fruit from the trees that you planted decades and generations ago, right? It's thinking about me putting this seed and tilling the soil today for future generations of my family to continue to eat from. It means that we have to teach each successive generation to tend to that garden, right? We can't just plant the seeds and hope and pray that something's going to happen. We have to instill those values and those tools in each successive generation so that they know how to work the soil. But also they've got to protect the land. And that's the piece, right? You can plant the seed and the orchard can grow, but if your family doesn't know how to protect the land, which is your estate planning, which is your foundation, if they lose that land, somebody else is eating that fruit of your labor. And so when we think about legacy, I like to think about it that way, is that we are planting the seeds and putting into place the structure that allows for our families to continue to thrive in this society. And from an African-American perspective and a Latinx perspective, we are failing at that. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit later, but we are, and we are in a state of emergency for Black wealth. I know it doesn't feel that way when we look at Instagram and see everybody like, I'm flossing, I'm doing great. But the reality is that we are still losing about $2 billion annually across this country in the probate process, which means the things that we are accumulating and we're posting on Instagram are not making it into generational wealth. We're not protecting the land. And so, I love this conversation. I love coming on and being, that added piece to this journey, right? Because real estate is an important piece. So thank you for having me. That's what we do. And that's what I'm here to talk about.
Yay. And, we don't just do it for shock value, honestly, but Portia, tell the people, I tease her a little bit, a friendly tease about Portia and these stats, right? But they really hit home. Portia, tell us a little bit about it.
Yep. So there was a study that was done in 2017 by Prosperity Now, and they talk about how by 2053, the median net worth for Black families is set to hit 0. And that's if we do nothing, right? 2053, it's not that long from now. I do intend to be alive, God willing, to be here in 2053, considering that's like 30 years from now. And it would take Latinx families another 20 years, so 2073, to hit that same result. That's what the study found, right? If we did nothing, changed nothing about the trajectory we're on. What we couldn't have accounted for in 2017 was the role of COVID-19 in accelerating that timeline. As of March 2021, the numbers came out and it said that 1 in 555 African Americans died last year from COVID-19. That's more than one person a day. And particularly in our older population, which means that has severely accelerated the wealth transfer timeline. What used to be, we've got maybe 20, 25 years to get our older population covered by comprehensive estate planning, is now really about 10, right? If we lose grandma's house or mom and dad's one paid off house or their stock portfolio, or we don't inherit it appropriately, you can't get back the benefits you just lost. There is no substitute to inheriting a paid off house. Y'all know there's no substitute, because what can you do with that paid off house? You can leverage it, right? My mortgage man, you can leverage it, you can pay out of it, which can provide for college education for other members of the family. It can provide the seed money for other pieces of property. It can provide the seed money for businesses. You can rent it, so then the tenants are paying back that money, which means you can keep drawing from that one property over and over and over again. It's like the goose that lays the golden eggs for your family. It has the ability to do that. And in most jurisdictions, on a one-time parent-to-child property tax reassessment exemption, and I know I'm saying a lot of words, basically your property taxes might stay the same as what your parent or grandparents' property tax levels were. So if they pay $1,000 a year, but market rate is $10,000 a year now, you're winning, right? But if you lost that house and had to go back and buy it on the market, you'd have a mortgage, you'd have higher tax rates. It would not be as economically viable to utilize that property if you had to pay for it yourself, which is why it is so important to make sure we are securing what we already have when we talk about this idea about legacy and wealth building, because the foundation is secure and then you build. You can't build a house on quicksand. You just can't.
Yes.
Because the moment something happens, that beautiful palace with the golden toilets and all this stuff with the French Venetian glass will crumble and you will have a pile of nothing. And so when you think about the foundation, that foundation is estate planning.
Yay! So we're going to, of course, circle back to all these hot topics. Equity, right? Portia and I talked about that, estate planning and real estate. Veronica, please tell the people who you are and what is building a legacy and generational wealth mean to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica. I'm a licensed real estate broker here in Puerto Rico, as Michelle, my sis, already mentioned. And I'm a former educator. Well, I think once an educator, always an educator. Let's just clarify that. But I was a former administrator of a university. And so, legacy is something that I believe, is embodied in everything that we do. So we leave legacy with tradition, with culture, economically, with money, with businesses. So I think it's super important. When Michelle invited me to this conversation, really, it was a very meaningful conversation to begin with that she and I were having. But then this really spoke to my heart and my soul, because it's one of the dispariting issues that I deal with here on a regular from a real estate perspective. Properties that have not been appropriately transitioned to future generations, and some because of our natural disasters that have been abandoned. And so there's a lot of gaps, right? And that affects me, because I do see so much change here on the island, and I do feel like, to my new friend here, Portia's points, it's a foundation. With a shaky foundation, how do you build a strong home and a foundation for other things? So, I think I love this conversation. I hope to add more value. But I think legacy is a service. It is more than just economically leaving money or property. It is, for a lot of people, identity. It's a tradition, and it's an ongoing passing of the torch, so to speak, from our ancestors. So, I take a lot of pride in what I do. And when I pivoted into real estate, I did not do it, haphazardly. I did it with a lot of intention, because I believe that, what we do touches many and all ecosystems across the world globally. And when you talk about minorities and building generation, I think there's still a lot of room for education and for facilitating that, so that, again, our future generations have it just a little bit easier than before us. So thank you.
Yay! Thank you, Veronica. And I love how she dove into, again, generational wealth and legacy is more than just finance. It is, like she said, those things that our ancestors have poured into us, that we should continue telling those stories and sharing those images and, those values with those that come after us. So we'll definitely go back there again. Thank you, Veronica. Bonita Grant, who's here going to talk. She is, again, credit Cure My Credit 700. And so she's all things credit, not just personal credit, not just fixing credit, maintaining credit, building credit, business credit, everything. Bonita, you want to tell the people who you are outside of that?
How you guys doing? My name is Bonita Grant, and I used to be a teacher in public schools for 10 years. So I'm really passionate about education too. I feel like credit is the avenue that I'm using right now to fulfill my purpose. My purpose is to help people achieve their highest potential. And credit is one of those things where I feel like we're judged on, but no one teaches us how it works. And so my passion is to make sure that people understand credit and understand how they can win the game of credit. Because if you don't know the rules, it's almost impossible to win the game of credit. And so I've helped thousands of people fix their credit so they can buy houses, cars. And I'm really super, super, super passionate about teaching people about business credit too, because that's another thing that I feel like we're not taught, and it's on purpose.
Ooh, cliffhanger. So we're definitely going to come back to that. So again, we talked a little bit. So, and again, today's about the buyer journey, right? So let's just dive right in and go into real estate, right? We touched it a little bit. So let's talk, and we all in some way, shape, or form are involved in real estate. So let's talk about how does real estate become a vehicle for people to establish a legacy? Why should people buy real estate? What should people look for, and how do they prepare to buy? And why should they look at it as an asset versus just a home? Cool. Who wants to start? All right. Portia. She's like, I've never bought.
One of the things that we always talk about is land and land ownership. And throughout the history of this country, one of the fastest wealth builders that we have seen has been the ownership of land, whether that be to, grow food for the country, right? Our farmlands, whether that be to make wine or to provide housing in terms of apartments, et cetera. There is no better business mechanism in this country that has better tax breaks, that you can leverage again and again, that you can provide housing for yourself and your family and others while also generating income. I mean, there's just no other mechanism or business model that operates the way that real estate does. Real estate is also a tangible asset. So at your death, you can pass it on. There are benefits to passing it. In many states, many jurisdictions, I will say, you are able to get a step up in tax basis. I don't want to get too in the weeds.
Yeah.
But basically, if the parent buys the house for $10,000 and they sold it, they wouldn't have a capital gains tax. If you were added onto the deed, which happens often in our community and is a big no. But you're added onto the deed, you keep your parents' tax rate of that $10,000. So if you sold it, you're going to get a capital gains. But if you inherit it, this is the piece. If you inherit it, in most jurisdictions, you get a step up in tax basis to the date of death value. So if it's worth $300,000 and you sold it, no capital gains. That's a big wealth builder, because if you think about how much money you would have to pay in taxes just by doing it wrong, right? And so there aren't very many assets where you can get so many benefits, right? You can leverage it till the wheels fall off and put tenants in it to pay it off, and then pass it to your kids at a higher tax basis, which is incredible. And then they can turn around and do it again. And so there really isn't anything else like it available as an investment or for legacy building. Now, I would also add, a single family home is not necessarily an asset because you have to pay for it, even though it does generate equity. But when you look at 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, and you can generate income, then you really do have an asset creating for generational wealth.
Awesome. And so I'm going to give an example as we dive into this, right? So I already shared it with Portia earlier. She introduced me to IG Live. So we did one of those earlier. And one of the stories that I shared is, we know we're coming out of this crazy seller's market, right? So everyone's paying at or above value for these properties. Well, yesterday specifically, I received 2 calls, 2 appraisals came in. One of them, my buyer, is now purchasing a home where they will have $67,000 in equity based on the appraisal. The second one, both first-time home buyers, they are buying a property where they will have about $20-something thousand in value in equity in that property the day that they close on that house. Can all of you guys individually tell our audience what that means and what that matters when it comes to dollars and cents? And Tinesta, what about you?
Wow, it's such a timely question, because that's exactly what I'm doing. It ties into what Ms. Portia said about being able to leverage what you have. So this first time buyer, I mean, they literally have some pocket money. They have some leverage. I would certainly recommend, staying in that place a year or two to really maximize that leverage, that position. But oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I don't even know who they are. Their hair is standing up. I'm so excited for them because this is exactly what we're talking about. You asked the why. The why is that you position yourself, and by positioning yourself, you position those who are going to come behind you. So it's such a smart move to make that decision. And I might be getting ahead of myself, but to get in the game, and you just never know what that deal is going to do for you, 2 or 3 years down the line, and how it's going to, make it possible for those in your circle and those people, as Portia said, I'm sorry, Benita said, the people that you touch, it's just going to increase your sphere of influence. It's amazing. I think about my own journey, which is why I get so excited. And I remember when I started, real estate was just something that my parents talked about kind of in passing. It was expected. So it was not a big leap for me to go from living at home to pursuing buying real estate. It was just part of the conversation. So I'm fortunate in that way, because I know not everyone had that. But so I have a obligation to share that with others who may not have had that opportunity, and do it with such the excitement I see on you all's face, and present it in such a way that it's not hard. I like to say, I was talking to a young lady the other day, and she's in a position, she's ready to buy. She's not done any of the work. And I hope we get to that. She's not done any of the work, but she's ready to buy. She's ready to buy. And what I was thinking, I was sitting there listening to her. I believe everyone has the right to have housing, to have some place to live. No one should be homeless. Not everyone should be a homeowner if they're not willing to do the work, because it's not easy. We make it seem like you can turn on the TV, it's a commercial, it's get rich quick. It's not. It's work, it's an effort, but it is doable. That's the walkaway. If you're willing to do the work, absolutely. There's nothing getting in the way other than you and meeting that objective. So around the block, but anyway, that's me.
I love it. Can I chime in real quick?
Yes, Marcus, please.
So I agree, everybody should have safe housing, whether you live or you rent. But when we're talking about this legacy and why should people buy a home, I'm just going to share a quick story. My grandfather had a third grade education, and he built a trucking business, and he ran it for 50 years by himself until my dad jumped in and helped, grow the business and all of that. But one thing my grandfather did, even though he had a third grade education, he built the house that we know as grandma's, right? So 7209 Old Carolina Road in Gainesville, Virginia. That's my grandfather built that with he and his brothers. I don't know how he got the information. I don't know what it was, but he had this inner drive, and he was like, I need to provide for my family. And it was 5 kids, my grandmother and my grandfather, and this small center block house, and if you think back, my whole family, I'm talking family reunions, were in this little small house. But 2, 3, 4 generations down the line, we still refer back to it as we 7209. We know what it is. We know where we come from. And that's what legacy looks like. But that's also some drive, and he did the work literally with his own hands. My desire right now, my challenge to my cousins, even some of my uncles or older folks, second and third cousins, whatever. My mission right now, you see a lot of people saying, I got 1,000 home challenge or a 50 home challenge. My challenge is to make sure that everybody last name Fields that will do the work and to buy a home. I don't care if it's a condo, townhome, because a bunch of them got kids, whatever. So you need space. But that's my challenge. And it is a matter of exploding this thing that one man did, and taking the opportunity where you do the work to fix your credit. You're in the right position to get down payment assistance if you need it. If you've got money in your 401k and it's a smart idea to pull it, then you pull it. Make sure you got a trust set up, for your kids. I mean, you drop dead out here, make sure your stuff is protected. And, you got to just make sure. And I'm super serious about it. And they know that I come with it. I'm not playing any games. And the thing I wanted to share, I think I can get my screen to share. Um, can y'all see this? Um,
There we go.
there you go.
We testing our technology skills over here today, Mark.
Can y'all see that? Fire your landlord.
Yeah.
All right. So if it's big enough for y'all to see, like the average rent around here, let's say it's $1,800. The average renter might be renting for about 10 years, and that's $216,000. That would have actually bought you a condo in cash. I know because I bought and sold a condo for that amount. And but from a generational perspective, that $1,800 is $648,000 over a 30-year time frame. That means you bought any home that I can think of, any respectable home that I can think of, once, maybe 1.5 times. And if we can get people to understand, you're going to pay to live somewhere.
Yes.
Might as well pay yourself and invest in yourself to live in a way that meets your needs. So I personally am a little bit tired of seeing us pay somebody else and invest in somebody else's dream and investment. And no longer will I just sit back and be quiet about it. Like part of the coaching process is putting people in the right position. Mortgage Coach Marcus, putting people in the right position and run the right plays and making sure at the end of this transaction that you walk away with the trophy, with the victory. And that victory is keys. That victory is 60,000 in equity. The victory is whatever it may end up being. If it's a refinance of your existing home or second or investment property, that you now have some additional assets, cash to be able to go buy more houses like Aunt V or whatever you call yourself, Miss Vanessa, right? So I'm super like intense about it. So I'm passionate, but again, they got to do the work.
I want to chime in. So I think this is awesome, and I feel like Aunt Nessa, is that how you say it?
Miss Vanessa, Auntie Nessa,
Auntie Nessa.
Yes, my bad.
I think you hit it on the nail when you talked about it was a normal thing in your family. Like it was a normal thing to go and buy a house. I feel like that in terms of legacy, I think that's super important. Like I tell people, I have people in my program who are 70 years old and buying their first house. At the end of the day, you do it first. You do it such that the people who are watching you are looking and seeing what's possible. But a lot of times, if we're terrified of things that we don't know about, and we're not taught about.
Yes.
I remember in my family, we played games a lot, and my favorite game was Monopoly, right? And Monopoly. What Monopoly taught me was whoever gets the most houses the quickest wins the game. And if you get multifamily, you get hotels, then you really win and you beat everybody out the water, right? My uncle,
unless you cheat. Because we always had people stealing from the bank.
Well,
stay out of jail.
I mean, it really, right? But they never really won. So, my grandmother had 9 kids and then adopted 4. So we had a huge family, right? And I had a rich uncle, right? And my uncle was rich. Everyone knew he was rich. He was the rich guy in the family, and he owned houses, right? I had a whole bunch of other uncles, and none of them were rich. And so I was watching him and I was like, how, what did he do to get to where he's at? He bought his mother's house when he was, I think, 17. He couldn't buy it in Boston because you had to be like 21 or 19 to buy a house or something like that, right? So his boss bought it for him and transferred over to him when he turned that age. He bought the house for $19,000, right? This house right now is worth over $3.5 million in one generation.
One generation.
That is
changed
awesome.
lives.
Changing lives. Like, okay, So my thing is like, just jump, just jump, get a
Yes.
team, find somebody who's done it and literally
Yes.
stalk them until they tell you how
Yes.
it's possible, because everyone gets to win. And when we, like everyone is saying, is when, when you jump first, you're automatically, people are
Yes.
watching. Even if they're not asking you, they're watching to see if it's possible for them. So this is super important.
Yay! Just do it. I think
We
I'm
say
hearing
these
that.
numbers. Yeah, I mean, we say these numbers, right? Like somebody bought a house for $10,000 and it's now worth $1 million. Like that's not uncommon in Los Angeles or really in lots of the major cities in California. That's a really common story. But what we have to keep in mind is like it's not going to just keep going up forever, right? We would be in the trillions of dollar range, and people wouldn't be able, they already have a difficult time in affording multi-million-dollar houses, which is forcing gentrification. So that's where the protection element comes back in, because you can't lose that house that just got that $3 million growth, because if you do, there's nowhere for you to go. You can't go anywhere else to buy. You'd have to leave the area, leave your family, set up new roots someplace else. You've got to protect what you have so that you can leverage that equity. Because the moment you sell it, right? The moment you sell it, you've lost that opportunity. You've gotten that check once versus being able to potentially get that check over and over and over and over and over again by leveraging the equity in the property. This is where we fail, particularly when there are multiple kids that inherit one property. The easiest thing to do is sell it and give me my money. But the easiest thing to do is often not the best thing to do if you're trying to create generational wealth. You have to do, as so many people here have said, you have to do the work. You have to sit down and get strategic about how are we going to work collaboratively to make sure that this continues to allow us to eat for generations. And if that's setting up a family limited partnership, if that's because the previous generation created a trust and put those restrictions in there for us, all of those things are possible, but you have to do it. Because if you leave it up to the next generation to figure it out, the easiest thing they're going to do is sell it and be like, give me my money. And what they've lost is the opportunity to continue to get that money. Much of that is a financial literacy issue in our community. We don't tend to know how money works or how money flows. But I don't want to just say, hey, if you go out and buy that $1 million house, it's gonna be worth $3 million in a few years. That may or may not be true, right? Yeah. Most of the growth that we have seen has happened in this last generation. In fact, the baby boomer population has seen the largest growth on their assets than any other group, right? They bought houses at $10,000 and $20,000. They invested in the market at $10,000 and $20,000 and have seen millions of dollars worth of returns. They are passing one of the largest, we're in the midst right now of one of the largest wealth transfers in the history of this country. We have never had this before. We have never seen this before. We also have the opportunity for the first time ever to pass more wealth in the Black community than ever before. And so we have to find a way to protect that. And I think that's an important part of the conversation too. That growth that your uncle got, most people aren't going to get that, right? It'd be really hard to buy that house again for $10,000. So now the focus has to be, how do we keep it? How do we ensure that it stays with your family forever?
Awesome. And we will get to a question. I want to give Veronica a chance to chime in. Veronica, of course, one from the standpoint of all this equity, right? But then also from the standpoint of you're in a completely different environment than some of us, right? You're in Puerto Rico. There's a whole other culture there. You guys are surviving natural disasters. What are you seeing there in Puerto Rico when it comes to legacy and generational wealth, equity, the community? That's another big thing that I love to talk about when it comes to building a legacy. It often extends beyond our families, right? It extends beyond your children. It extends beyond your neighborhood. Think about it. We are the legacy of Madam C.J. Walker, right? We are the legacy of Malcolm X. We are the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. So community is a big aspect of that. With everything that's happening in Puerto Rico, Veronica, spill into us a little bit.
Ooh, well, in the 5 years that I've been here on the island, it has been quite eye-opening in terms of what natural disasters and, mass exodus of a community, right? Because it's in essence what we are. The island is it's a community, it's a village. It's comprised of 78 mini villages, but it's a village nonetheless. And, those 70 municipalities lost a tremendous amount of people after Maria. And that's culture, that's tradition, that's, economy, economic development, that's legacy. It's legacy. And, one of the things that I really enjoy championing is, part of what I do is, in real estate, we're conduits for this transition, right, of people coming and going and, starting and ending, in some cases, establishing their journeys, relocating. And so, I think it's really important as we make that economic change on the island and we start to continue to see money invested, in the development of the island, that people also feel the confidence. Puerto Rican people feel a confidence to come back and reinvest in their island to continue that legacy, right? And to keep it going generationally. My family, for instance, my parents left, close to 45, nearly 50 years ago, independently, individually, to seek a better life, and met in the United States. They made a decision to give us a better life, but at no point did they raise us without being very closely tied to this culture and to the legacy that is, our identity as Puerto Ricans. So I grew up coming to this island, and so relocating wasn't anything too jarring for me, with the exception that I arrived shortly before a Category 5 hurricane that devastated the island. So for me, it would, I always like to say, I think you've heard me say this before, Michelle, not all storms come to destroy, some come to clear a path. And so, we have to decide, though, what path we're choosing. I chose to stay, despite having many other opportunities presented to me, particularly in an industry that I excelled at for many years, nearly 20 years. And I chose to stay. And for many, that's not the path that they would have chosen. But my circumstances were very different. I was single. I don't have children. And so, I could make that sacrifice initially. Many people don't have that choice. And so, this is coming from a very judge-free zone. But I also want to say and encourage people to come back, to reinvest. You don't necessarily need to relocate or back, but you certainly can invest in second homes here. You can invest in, short-term, rentals and different opportunities from a real estate, different asset classes that will still afford that legacy, right? It's not just a home. It could be a business. It could be a commercial mixed building. It could be just land. We're not making any more of it. So, once it's gone and spoken for, it's gone and spoken for, And so for me, while I take a lot of pride in helping everyone and anyone who wants to love this island and come here, I would be remiss in saying that, from a cultural perspective, our identity is our people. And so, again, if you want to keep that legacy going, you've got to invest back into it. You've got to do the work. And sometimes that work is making the sacrifices. And so with that being said, I hope that answers your question, but, I definitely feel like, when you can get into the opportunity and you can invest in something that can already have equity, well, you've got one leg up. You're walking into money. You're walking into profit. That's amazing. And then what you do with that property subsequently afterwards is just, again, blessing upon blessing for you and for the generations that come, after.
Awesome. Thank you, Veronica. We're going to take a couple of questions before we have to move on, because I want to definitely respect the time of our panelists. So here's one for Auntie Nessa. Auntie Nessa, I hear the term buying right, and this, of course, is for everyone, right? But Auntie Nessa specifically, the term buying right. What is your process or end goal to know if you are buying right? I have been studying an area for several months and making offers, but it is all daunting. So how do you find a property that you feel is a good fit for you?
First of all, congratulations that you're in the game, that we like to say.
Yay!
So don't change that word to daunting and just say it's a challenge. And all challenges, I like what Ms. Portia said, I wrote it down. Some of them come to make you better. So continue to do the work, continue to do what you're doing. You're gaining more information. You're getting more comfortable with the area that you're looking for. You're becoming more aware of what that area has to offer. So I would recommend just keep doing what you're doing. So don't let that daunting discourage you. So for me, what I find, which is how I do it, I do exactly, I think what you're doing is I find an area. I'm a zip code person, and I'm born and raised in California. So I was very comfortable with the entire state, but particularly with the northern part. I was in the south. I was very comfortable with Northern California. So I knew the zip codes, and I knew in those zip codes what areas, what communities. If I lived there, which was always my foundation, if I lived there, my mother and father, my cousins, anyone that I knew or loved, I would find an area that they would feel comfortable living in. That would kind of be my start, and then I would literally drive the communities, and I would look for not necessarily the house that was not the most well kept, but I had a feeling that they don't have that interest. You know, you look for the curb appeal or the lack thereof, and then you put your ear to the ground as you're meeting people, as you're aligning yourself with people who are in the game, or even on your level, who maybe are just getting started, or who maybe have a little more information. Always align yourself with people that got a little more going on than you. That's where your growth comes. And so daunting is the word that keeps jumping out of my spirit. So daunting can be discouraging. So first of all, don't get discouraged. The right deal was your question. For me, the right deal was based on if I could afford it, based on if my credit was in order, which made the affordability a lot easier. And Benita can talk to you about that's huge, huge, huge. And what it was going to do for me 5 years down the line. I always had a 5-year exit plan. I had a 2-year exit plan. And depending on why I purchased the deal, determined how long I kept the deal, if that makes any sense. So if I was buying it for an investment, I had a 2-year in and out. If I bought it for something to live in, then I had a longer plan. So to loop back around to your question, stay in it. Don't get discouraged. This is a weird market that we're in, and the professionals can tell you, this is a weird market. Don't get greedy. Don't look at everybody. Don't look to the right. Don't look to the left. Don't look to what everyone else is doing. Do what is right for you, depending on what your financial position is, what your long-term goal is, and the purpose. The reason why you're doing it is critical. Because if not, a year from now, 2 years from now, you'll find yourself in a place that you're stuck with a house you really don't want, or you're not getting the equity that you think you deserve. It could just, spiral into other things. So the right deal for me is about doing the work, which Marcus was talking about, what Portia was talking about. It's important. It's important. And I'll just throw the statistics out there. Ms. Portia could probably, hopefully back me up. I read an article where it said more folks in our community owned homes in 1964 when it was illegal for Black folks to own homes than there is now. So that means we are, like Ms. Portia said, we are missing the mark. We are missing the mark. And I think right now what we have to focus on is doing the work. You have to do the work, which sounds like you're doing. You have to stay committed to it. Don't get discouraged. You may put some offers in, especially in this market. And I'm sorry, Michelle, I don't want to take all the time. You put some offers in and you don't get the results that you want. Don't stop. I believe you do the work, the right deal is going to show up. The right time, it's going to be affordable, it's going to be in the right place. So you just stay in the game. Stay in the game. And like Marcus said, I don't care if it's a condo. I don't care if it's a 2-bedroom duplex that one door is broken and the other door. Find the deal that is right for you. Do the work. Make sure the numbers are right. Make sure your reason is right. And then you go for it. But stay in the game. Don't get discouraged. I said a lot, but.
No, that's great. And I just want to say really quickly, what I would say is, when it comes to buying right, I think that you're asking the right goal, asking the right questions, right? What is your end goal? What does that look like? And what's your purpose, right? Are you planning on a short-term investment? You want, cash quickly, or that's a flip, or are you looking for something long-term where you have some type of cash flow, or even not if it doesn't cash flow, as long as it's paying for itself and someone else is paying down the mortgage. So figure out what that goal is. And then I'm also going to say, don't wait for the next, I'm on the same wavelength. I was going to say, don't try to time the market, right? That's the big thing. Everyone tries to time the market to find the best deal. There is a deal in 90% of the opportunities, there's a deal to be made. You just have to figure out how that impacts your end goal. So like, for example, the client that now has like $67,000 in equity in this property, it's for a primary residence. They had a small budget and they were looking for something a little bit older. And so that always starts at, I'm looking for something I might have a $500,000 budget, but I'm looking for something that's $600,000, right? Because I want the fancy, what I'm going to live in. Well, through our discussions, through figuring out what their end goal was to pass something down to their children. What means more, the fancy house or the equity that's sitting there for you guys to refinish this house and pass on to your children? What about you? We have Portia, we have Benita. You guys are both investors. How do you find that right deal? And this is how we'll end this section today.
Ooh, I would say you can't time the market right. And I think Benita would probably agree with that. For me, it's always been about, what is my goal? What am I trying to achieve? And I've outlined it. I vision board it. That's just kind of me. When it came to the property that I just closed on here in Los Angeles, I had 5 criteria that I needed. I wanted it to be in this particular neighborhood. I wanted it to be on a certain side of the freeway. And much of that was for convenience for me and location to family. I wanted it to have enough land to have second or third units on it. I needed it to be multifamily. LA real estate's expensive. I wanted it to be in a particular school district. I wanted it to be on flat land. Like I had very specific criteria, and I just kept putting it out there and kept putting it out there. And sometimes the deal came and I wasn't ready, but I just kept putting it out there anyway. And eventually the stars aligned and the deal came to me. I didn't find the deal came to me. And so I think it's about being ready, being prepared, knowing what you're looking for, and knowing your numbers. Very clear on what your numbers are. Yes. And not going to, not really going over that, because the deal only makes sense as long as the deal makes sense. And that's a numbers game.
Like I tell my clients often, do not fall in love until we have the keys, right? I tell them you can fall into deep, deep, deep but do not fall in love, right? And that's backing up what Portia says. It's about the numbers, right? Do not fall in love with the house when it's about business. It's all about the bottom line. Yeah. Benita, what about you? How do you find that deal, sis?
Oh, well, Portia, you're awesome. I'm like, we're like new best friends. We'll talk about that later. So honestly, one of the things that I do is I vision board. I do affirmations. I know, like, I believe in ancestors. I believe in angels. I believe in God. I believe that you have to be bold enough to ask for what you want. And then you literally have to look for evidence that it's happening, right? And so one of the things that you said, Portia, it came to you, right? Like at when you finally got it, it was one that came to you. It's because, you asked for it and you kept looking for it and you stood for it. I remember I talked to my nephew recently, and he just got into stocks, right? I'm like, just get into stocks. So he got into stocks, and then he lost some money, and he was like, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I said, baby, last year I lost $20,000 4 times, 4 times. But last year, in terms of investments, I made over $400,000. So, okay, if I had stopped the first time I lost money, I would have never been able to get to those other points. You cannot, even when, Auntie Nessa, you were just talking about it, like, even when things look scary and like you feel like you're down, you just gotta stay in the game. You gotta keep getting up. You got to keep jumping because it is here for you. We talk about legacy. We talk about building it. It's here for you. You just have to be able to grab it and know that it's yours. It's a right. It's your birthright to win. So claim it.
Yay! And listen, and I know it sounds like, I want you to know that the people that are talking to you on this stage, sometimes it sounds like fluff, right? Because we've done the work. And so sometimes we overlook the work, right? In reality, Benita, I've sold her investment properties, a house that they redid from start to finish, right? And it was beautiful.
How much did I make? How much did I make on that one?
I don't know. Tell me, how much did you make on that one?
I made negative $8,000.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Like, I mean,
tell them why, Benita. So what happened? How did we make negative?
Because everyone else made the money. Okay. Everyone else made
contract. It was beautiful. She paid
It was beautiful. It was beautiful, but everyone else made the money. So now I do things differently. I am the bank. I don't play those games anymore. Like, right? The bank made, I don't know, I think the bank made $78,000 on me borrowing money to flip this house. My contractor made money. Everyone else made money. I cut the fat. Like, I don't play those games no more. Like, if it is to be done, I'm not doing it so that I have pretty houses on my books.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing it so I have a bigger bank account so I can leave more money to my kids. I got 3 little boys and they are hungry. Like, they're always hungry.
And to Anita's point, you know,
Always.
what everyone is saying all day is get in the game, right?
Yes,
Do
and
it.
fall and fail. If I had to stop there, from that house, I've bought 7 more houses after that. But
Okay.
most people would have stopped there, and they would have been like, "See, this is." I don't know why they're talking about people make money and da 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 da. No, that was an expensive learning
lesson.
Fall
Yes.
forward.
It was not as expensive as it could have been.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And to her credit, this was like literally, we sold this house. I think COVID hit in March. The house sold like that summer. So contractors, supplies, all of that was a hot mess.
The contractors said COVID. It was dramatic. Nobody wanted to go in the house. They didn't want to meet with it was a lot. But the whole point is just jump. Just keep jumping. If you fall, wipe yourself off. Promise you being down is not where you're supposed to be. You are supposed to be up here.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
I like to say,
oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Just really quick. Just really quick. This is the one thing that I like to say to people. For me, real estate was the great equalizer. It was the great equalizer. It didn't matter how tall or how short, what color my skin was I a boy or girl? It didn't matter. It's the great equalizer. If you're willing to do the work, and that means do the work as everyone is saying, there is no reason why you cannot not only get in the game, but stay in the game, and then stay in the game in such a way that you can help somebody else. It's the great equalizer.
Can I throw this in here real quick? I know you want to move on. Like, you don't know. You got to be smart about your numbers, right? It's got to be wise, of course. But take that chance. When you said step, leap, jump, like if you're gonna fail forward, right? But and I'm not even going to, like, Michelle and I, like, we talk all the time, and I had no idea I had the opportunity. When the guy said how you find the right opportunity, like the equalizer. Can I share, Michelle?
Of course.
So I bought 100 acres in West Virginia. And number one,
I told you these folks are real deal, y'all.
So I did that, and the stereotypical West Virginian don't look like me. But I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and do this. I have no idea, legacy-wise, I have no idea how my 5-year-old will take advantage of this. By the time it maximizes its full potential, I will be dead, I'm sure. But I'm gonna try my hardest right now to make sure that I do something with it. So if we build a neighborhood, if we build a resort, I don't know what it is, but I'm teaching her, and she's right. She's not here today, but a lot of times she's underneath me, learning and hearing, and catching this business, and like, she's picking up stuff. She can tell anybody what Daddy does. She's at the events, passing out my cards with me. I don't have to ask her. But like that thing of like leap, like, and I didn't want to necessarily do it because I'm like, what am I going to do with all this? God dropped that thing in my lap, and it's like, okay, now what you going to do? All right, I'm going to work it. I'm going to figure it out. So if anybody doesn't believe that it can happen, and I'm hearing a ton of affirmations, I'm hearing mistakes made, I'm hearing, like, efforts made, but like, keep going. Like, don't stop, stay in the game. Like we always say, if you stay ready, you have to worry about getting ready. Let's do it. I just wanted to share, like, God is for, like, that thing is for real.
Amen. Amen. All right, guys. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna close out for today. I'm so sorry because I know it feels like as soon as we start getting going, it gets super juicy. But that's why we get together often. I mean, definitely go to luxurylegacy.com/watch. That's our YouTube. You will find videos with Portia, where her and a panel they talk everything estate planning. Benita Grant is on there talking everything credit. Marcus is on there for an online home buyer event talking about how to prepare. Of course, Veronica is new to our family, but she's going to start talking to us everything about Puerto Rico. One, how we can pour into that community, how we can invest there.
Passive income in paradise, baby. Passive income in
I'm trying
paradise.
to get with you, Veronica. I want to have passive income in paradise.
Yes.
Okay.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, and Portia and I were talking some retreat stuff earlier, and Veronica is certified in retreats, girl, and she's local in Puerto Rico.
I actually do property manage at a small boutique hotel too in the old city. So we should talk.
Nice in our future,
Veronica.
in our future, Puerto Rico. Here we come.
Yeah,
definitely. Listen, there's so many tax incentives here that obviously, we could talk about in a different room, but for sure, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm happy and proud to join this tribe. Thank you for welcoming me.
Yay, awesome. And then of course you'll see Auntie, of course, always talking about investing and getting in the game. Really quickly before we head out, and we'll go the opposite direction, and where can everyone find you, and any lasting words? We'll start with Portia. We'll go Portia, Benita, Veronica, Marcus, and Tinessa, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yes, thank you guys. My name is Portia Wood. I'm a partner in a law firm with my mother. We focus on generational wealth. Our firm is Wood Legal Group, so you can find us at woodlegalgroup.com. Legal Group across all social media. Parting words. One of the big things that I'm looking at now is I'm watching what's happening with our environment and changes in climate, and looking at what is the research telling us. So looking at land versus more congested cities, looking at land that is not in flood zones, looking at land that has access and riparian rights or water rights to freshwater sources. Because when we think about what the future holds, these are going to be really important commodities. I mean, the dollar is not really going to make sense anymore when we are out of water. And the announcements that have come out that, the Colorado River is all of the stuff that's going on around water. We need to be focusing on that, and we need to be on the forefront of it. And so I would say do your own due diligence, obviously, but that's where my focus is. And I want to encourage other people to sort of look into that as well.
Yay, the future. Awesome. Benita, where can we find you?
Okay, so my name is Benita Grant, and I own Cure My Credit Scores. So you can Google us, Cure My Credit Scores. We help people get their scores up so they can buy houses and cars. And we also help people build their business credit so they can flip houses and buy cars with their business credit and not their personal credit. So yes, you can find me on all of everything.
Veronica, where do they find you?
Oh gosh, well, you can find me on Instagram as veronica.montalvo_. You can find me on Clubhouse, same Veronica Montalvo. I'm actually building out my website, so I'll have a new landing page and website very soon. It'll be all things Puerto Rico and beyond, because I also do property marketing internationally. So I'm aligning myself with some pretty impressive folks and agencies in other countries that, again, legacy does not have to be where you started, right? It's where you end. And so, starting with the end in mind is the key. So I love that. And I look forward to pouring into, you and other communities. So yeah, you could reach me that way, and certainly direct message me, and I can give you my phone number and email and such. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Veronica. She's an amazing moderator too. I saw Portia lift her eyes up in Clubhouse. So guys, Clubhouse is not dead. There's still some awesome rooms. You just have to know who to be connected to. Marcus, where can the people find you, Coach? You're still muted though. You're still muted.
You're muted.
There you go. I appreciate that. At Mortgage Coach Marcus on Instagram, Facebook. I'm just out here trying to lead people to victory. So that's where I am. That's where I'm at. I'm in Maryland areas. I'm licensed in 10 states. So I'll give them to you real quick. Virginia, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Tennessee, and Georgia.
Texas.
I'm working on I'm working on Pennsylvania and Michigan right now. However, I've got a presence of the teammates underneath me that I can touch all 48. So yes, you need Texas, I got you.
Awesome. So Auntie doesn't do social. So if you need to find her, you got to go through me.
Yes.
But Auntie, any
I'm old
lasting
school, y'all.
words?
I don't have the .coms. And,
any lasting words you want to impart on the people?
it's an honor. The last thing I'll say, it's an honor to sit space with these folks that you've assembled. I mean, I can feel their passion and their energy and their commitment to what I absolutely love and what made a huge, huge difference in my life. So it's an honor to know that there are some people in the world who really mean what they say. They're putting their foot to the ground. They're putting their money where their mouth is. So the audience, you're asking how, you need to listen to these kind of folks. You need to follow, as they say in Clubhouse. They've given you a route to get to them. You need to exercise that. Don't continue with the lip service. If you are serious, clearly you are. You're at 12 o'clock or wherever you are, you're online. You're serious about it. So the next thing to do is to align yourself with these five folks. I can certainly account for Michelle. And these other folks, Miss Portia, I'm a huge fan. Miss Benita, huge fan. Marcus, I'm just meeting you, man. I got your name written down. And Miss Veronica, I'm so looking forward to hanging out with you as well. So my last word is, that's the name of the game, folks. Get yourself grouped, aligned, lock arms with people who know what they're talking about, because not everybody does. Y'all can talk, we can all talk about what went down in 2009 and 2008. Predators that were out there, they will lead you wrong if you act as though you don't know what you're talking about. How do you prevent that? You meet folks. You align yourself with folks who do know what they're talking about, and then you can join the conversation and you can add something to the conversation. So that would be my part. Get in, stay in, and even like Miss Benita said, if you fall down, it's okay, because the only way to move from there is up. So it's all right. It's all right.
Yay! Thank you guys so much. So, in summary, guys, this is the squad that we're curating a squad, your legacy building Gen Wealth squad for you. Portia and I have some exciting things coming up. We're all a part of each other's ecosystem. So again, check us out. If you have individual questions, definitely instant message, email, however the ladies and gentlemen told you to find out, do that. Again, here at Luxury and Legacy, it's not about being independently wealthy. It is about truly building a legacy, giving the next generation a step up. We're here to support the global majority, which is those that choose to identify as such. All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great job, ladies and gentlemen.